Hey guys, and welcome to the intro for the Lahn. So, Lahn has been out for about 12, 13 hours. I've been playing her a decent amount today. Oh, 1 second. There you go. And she's a lot of fun. I'm not level 50 yet because I spent the first hour playing without weapons or accessories to try and learn what damage she did. And she's actually pretty decent in terms of pre-awakened damage. Similar to Striker and Mystic, Pearl Abyss seems to have learned their lesson and really upped the damage, upped the combo potential, and just increased how much you can do in the pre-awakened form for Lahn immensely, compared to earlier classes such as the Ranger or the Sorceress. So, Lahn has several strengths. One, she can be fairly mobile. So Lahn has quite a few moves that really let her get in and out of combat fairly easily. And then of course she has her super famous move, which lets her kind of jump off things and go crazy flying like she's in a Chinese martial arts novel. And really looks pretty cool. So let me kill this man-child and I'll show you that one. So to do that, you press forward and shift, and then you just jump into the air and hold. And you can level that skill up. There's a few different things you can do out of that skill, but it's not super useful in regular combat, at least for me, just because when grinding so far, I found that you really need faster options. The startup alone, by that point, I could have killed at least a pack with just normal attacks. And really, it's just too slow to work properly. But it's a really cool move. And outside of combat, it's probably one of the most fun things in the game to do. I've spent a lot of time today just finding high places to jump off of on my Lahn. And do note, you do take fall damage if you do this. So don't go into that expecting that using the skill will allow you not to take fall damage. And also, the AoE when you come out of it, if you use LMB, so left mouse button, isn't as high as you'd think. It's a little lower. So she's got good mobility and she's got very good AoE. She's also got very good damage, but both her mobility and her damage come with a caveat. They're both really good while she has her cooldowns up. Lahn has a number of cooldowns that can take quite a while and cannot be used off cooldown. Shift Q right there takes 25 seconds to come off cooldown, and it's a skill that only has one level in it, so you can't put any more points into it to try and reduce the cooldown any further. Sacred Dance and Wind Orchid both have decent cooldowns. They can be reduced by putting skill points into them, but skill points are better off using stuff such as Nether Blossom or Nether Bloom, the skill I just used. It's LMB and RMB. Let's see if I can just find it here. Blooming Nether Flower. Yes. So this is actually probably one of her best techniques for grinding, Blooming Nether Flower, as it does a really high amount of damage, and it's got a very short cooldown. So if I use Blooming Nether Flower here, you can see it's only got an 8-second cooldown. It does a lot of damage, hits a lot of times, which is especially useful if you are grinding on monsters slightly higher level than you. Does not take up very many resources. Very powerful. But when her cool skills are on cooldown, you'll notice that Lahn's damage potential and mobility both suffer for it. Unlike classes such as Musa, who can kind of function without cooldowns super well because Chase and Crosskick can both be used off cooldown, Dark Knight, who can use Spirit Legacy, or several other classes that all have very good damage while their skills are on cooldown, the the Lahn really does rely on those cooldowns. And this is feedback we had from Korea. We knew that she was cooldown reliant, but you really start to strike home if you're not geared enough for an area. Like earlier when I was, before I bought any items, before I transferred my main's accessories over, and I was not struggling to kill things, but doing the early game killing, which is a little slower. I really noticed that after I used my skills, Lahn's clear speed starts to go down if you haven't killed the pack already, or if you need to get to the next pack and you use mobility skills to get to the first pack a second ago. So she is cooldown reliant. That is the first thing you are going to notice when you're playing the Lahn. The next thing you're going to notice when you're playing the Lahn is she's very flashy, and a lot of her skills actually kind of work together. She's got a number of kind of false combos or false flows where a skill doesn't say it flows, but you can use the skill immediately out of the other skill. So one of the best examples for this is she's got a move. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it out by memory. 1 second. So right here, Cymbidium. And then that moves into Deadly Restraint and 3-point Stipple as the two sort of flows. And 3-point Stipple, you can proceed to get the flow for 4-point Splatter. So Cymbidium is downwards F. So that's Cymbidium, and that's 3-point Stipple. And instead of using downwards F, what you can do is use her kick. Oh, that's her 100%, which looks cool as hell. You can use her kick and then just hold F to use Cymbidium. However, what I've noticed is that the timing for 3-point Stipple becomes much more crucial if you use Cymbidium off the kick than if you use Cymbidium normally. So normally you use Cymbidium, and as long as you hit the left mouse button to use 3-point Stipple or Deadly Restraint before she kind of starts to haul it back, as soon as that impact's been made and she starts to turn around, right there, you can't use 3-point Stipple anymore. So you see I pressed L and B there. And that's pretty much the limit for when you can do it. But if you use it out of this, then you've got to press it much earlier. Pretty much as she's throwing out the... Well, I suppose I should wait for her to come off cooldown. Pretty much as she's throwing out the... Oops, did the wrong move there too. As she's throwing out her crescent blade there. Her crescent... Is it called the crescent blade? Crescent pendulum, sorry. Yeah, so that's pretty much the timing for that. And then she's got a few other skills that also come off skills. So Moon Slash here is just her Moon Dance. But if you use it after certain skills, such as Eye of the Phoenix, I'm always tempted to start playing Eye of the Tiger whenever I use this skill, which would be difficult because this is her version of the sort of interruptible spacebar skill that most classes have, where you, no matter what skill you're using, she does it. And if you use Eye of the Phoenix and then press L and B, she'll use Moon Slash instead of Moon Dance. So there's a few other skills that she can do Moon Slash afterwards, but that is the most obvious one, and also the easiest, because you can interrupt any skill with Eye of the Phoenix pretty much, including Moon Slash itself. So, yeah. The one thing to be careful with Eye of the Phoenix, try not to cancel any of the big damage parts of your skills. If you have a skill, for example, I believe that was Sacred Dance off of the Orchid? Wind Orchid? Yep. So Wind Orchid into Flow Sacred Dance. Pretty strong move. You don't really want to be canceling when you're still mid-animation, as you will lose damage canceling Eye of the Phoenix, or canceling any move into Eye of the Phoenix. So, Lahn's got a number of combos people found today. My personal favorite is this one, so I'll show it to you, and then I'll kind of explain it. So, that combo was, I believe it's Crescent Slash. I'm not sure what the name of the move itself is. Furious Chase into, so forward R&B, into Salpuri Purge which is Shift+Q. Then Blooming Netherflower, so just LMB and RMB together. Then Wind Orchid into Sacred Dance. Then, how do you say it? Cymbidium into 3-point Stipple. Instead of using the flow for 4-point Splatter, we go from 3-point Stipple into Eye of the Phoenix, and then we finish it off with Moonslash. So I'll show you again. So that's what the combo looks like. It's a lot of moves. I believe there's 8 inputs you've got to put in, 8 or 9. Quite a few of them are time independent too. Like if you kind of mess up, you'll kind of miss the Wind Orchid, which is pretty important for the crowd control effect it gives. As a Wind Orchid, you use it to get the knockdown, and then you go with Sacred Dance for the down smash, and then you proceed with Cymbidium and 3-point Stipple, and finally Eye of the Phoenix into Moonslash. So the big thing is you've got to hit Furious Chase, and then you really need to hit Supplementary Purge, because Supplementary Purge has a 25-second cooldown, which is pretty long, and it cannot be used off cooldown. You can see no matter how much I press, it won't be used. So you can practice the rest of the combo whenever it's on cooldown. But you really want to hit that Supplementary Purge, as it's one of her highest damaging skills, especially in her pre-awakening. She doesn't have awakening yet, so we only have her pre-awakening. And Supplementary Purge is very strong, hits pretty hard, has 100% critical hit chance, decreases their DP for 10 seconds, applies floating, you get super armor roll using the skill. Like it just does so much, like as a skill. And oops. And there's one of the problems with the combo. You don't really want to lock Blade Dance, as it's actually one of her more powerful moves. In fact, as long as you've got a decent amount of AP, not sure if I have enough to put another point into it. I don't. As long as you have a decent amount of AP, mine's at about 100 right now. It could be much higher, but all I've got is a +9 Bears weapon and a +3, I believe, offhand weapon. So, but for most early monsters, you can just kind of spam RMB as well as the flow for RMB. What? What? What the hell? What was that? this wagon was just floating in the air. I thought for a second like the Santa Claus event was back. All right, not what this is about, but yeah. So I actually have no idea what I was talking about. All right, so you can kind of spam RMB, and there's a flow for it as well. So Blade Dance and the flow Blade of Blood, which I'm trying to remember what level you need. You only need to be level 20, and it actually does pretty good damage with a max of 10 targets hit. Blade Dance only has a max of 4 targets, which is one of its big weaknesses. Max of 5, max of 6. You really need to kind of max out Blade Dance if you want to use it properly to level. So if I was going to be using Blade Dance to level, I would remove points from Blooming Netherflower and put them all into Blade Dance. So let's see how it does now. Yeah, so as you can see, Blade Dance has really nice damage. It's spammable even on cooldown. And so is the flow. So pretty powerful move. I personally prefer Blooming Nether for big packs. As Blade Dance, it's got a very nice AoE. It looks kind of like a rectangle in front of her, but it does miss the sides. It does miss. So clearly there are people around here. So let me go to another area. Oh, and they're running with me. Is that a Musa? Is that an awakened Musa? Give it a man chest. That's my place. So yeah, so clearly You can see it does really nice damage. It's very spammable. It's got a very good AoE for what it is. It's no Dark Knight's Spirit Legacy, the big bubblegum it hit, but very powerful, very spammable, and it's much easier to use than LMB RMB, the Blooming Netherflower. So strong attack, but Blooming Netherflower, its real problem is that it's an LMB RMB move. Same with Sacred Dance, which I believe you can actually charge up. Let me confirm that in a second. Alright, Sacred Dance. Yeah, so you can hold Sacred Dance to kind of do a charge move, and I believe you can also just use it right away, although you might need to use the flow first. Sacred Dance is interesting because you don't actually need to so that's down LMB right there. You can see that's the cooldown for it. Sacred Dance, it's a flow move, but you don't actually need to use Wind Orchid in order to use Sacred Dance. You can just cast it right away. Of course, using Wind Orchid's a good idea because Sacred Dance has a down smash on it, but it's not something you need to do. But there's a number of things about Lahn that are pretty interesting. Like I said, my combo, it's not my combo. I actually found it from another player. I think he's in Man Up, actually. And I've kind of been experimenting with it. It's a very powerful combo. It's supposed to be a PvP combo from what I've been reading and from what I've seen. Very long, though. Very easy to interrupt if anyone else is around. And, of course, if they resist any of the crowd controls in it, that is a problem for you. But just like any combo, those are weaknesses of combos, right? So Lahn, very cool class, very cooldown reliant. If you're planning to grind with her, her Nether Bloom Flower, or whatever it's called, the LMB RMB, as well as her RMB itself, Blade Dance, and the Blade of Blood RMB, the Flow for Blade Dance, are both very powerful grinding tools. You can use them in conjunction with each other. You can use one over the other. It's really all about how you prefer to level. Eventually, you are going to want to use both of them, but early on, especially when you're leveling up to like 50, 52, 53, you'll probably find that you default to one or the other, unless you've got very low gear score, in which case you'll need to use all your skills at once. So the final thing that I'll talk about for Lahn is really her escapes in mid-combat. Her sideways rolls are, unfortunately, sideways rolls, which means they're pretty bad, and you should lock them. So let's do that now. But what she does have is Primrose Sprint. So there's 3 levels to it. There's the first one. The first 2, I believe, both give her all evasion rate. I'm trying to see what the difference here is. Yeah. So they both require stamina. They both have a 5-second cooldown. Second one gives her a slightly better evasion rate, but there's no real reason to upgrade to the second one unless you want to go straight to the third one. And the third one, you lose the stamina cost entirely, which is the ultimate one. And it kind of becomes like Musa's ultimate chase, where you can, I believe, use it to interrupt things. So let me try using a big move to interrupt with. Yep. So it becomes exactly like Musa or Meiwa's chase, where you can interrupt any of your moves to, if you see that they're coming at you to interrupt you, you can just use it to interrupt yourself and get out. So 1 second while Blooming Netherflower comes back up. And it's just backwards and shift. And then there's a few ways to get back in. Forward F is a pretty easy one. It's literally just kind of takes you running forward. You can, of course, if you want to, use the sprint spacebar move, which is her big jumping thing. And she actually has a way of allowing herself to sprint in mid-combat, which is Q. Which is a very powerful, just get the hell out move. So she presses Q, it gives her super armor, lets her start sprinting, and that lets her, well, once it comes off cooldown, use her Nimbus stride. So yeah, Lahn, she's a very cool character. She's a very powerful character. I expect to see her as a very popular class going forward. She's got a lot of very cool moves. Her 100% is on her F skill. It looks amazing. It's this. Here we go. And looks really cool. I haven't had the opportunity to see her 200% yet, but 200%'s you practically never see anyways. They're really just kind of a showing off. So I really hope that I see a lot more players playing Lahn soon. Hopefully not in my grinding spots, but you do what you gotta do. Once you hit above 50, remember that if you just press Q even when you're in combat, it'll let you start sprinting, and then you can use Nimbus Step. She also has forward F, but forward F isn't as great for getting away. So you just gotta kind of sprint away and hope for the best. Anyways, for the last, I'll also go through the combo one last time. Her combo, it's forward RMB, Shift Q. So I'll do it while we're doing it. Forward RMB, Shift Q, LMB RMB, downwards RMB into downwards LMB and RMB, downwards F, LMB, spacebar, and LMB again. And that's pretty much her basic PvP combo. It's a good combo to use against elites if they're not dying. And you can feel free to kind of mix it up after the combo, especially as you are going to have to wait 25 seconds for her Salpuri Purge to come off cooldown. Anyways, guys, that is my kind of first impressions of playing the Lahn after the first day of release. Hope you guys have been having as much fun with Lahn as I have. If you discovered any combos or really cool techniques that you can use with the Lahn, leave them below. There's a lot you can do with this character. I keep getting surprised by what moves I can pull out in certain situations. And Lahn is just a very enjoyable character to play. Definitely a treat in pre-awakened, and hopefully her awakened form is just as fun. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching my video on Lahn First Impressions. Hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you like it, and have a good one.